January 5th, 2015 is a day that will never be forgotten by the people of France and the world over. Masked gunmen raided the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. Using automatic weapons, these individuals, members of the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda, killed 12 people, a barbaric and cowardly act that has been condemned as a direct assault against one of the most fundamental aspects of the democratic civilization, the right to freedom of speech. There are some in Western countries who have used this tragic event as a means to promote the idea that religion, especially Islam, is fundamentally opposed to free speech and free expression. Is there really a conflict between the right to free speech and the right to freedom of religion? We asked Pastor Angela Cullen and Father Per Peterson, both religious chaplains for the culturally diverse student population of Örebro University, what their professional outlook is towards this perceived conflict.
As people of faith, do you believe that there is a conflict between the rights to freedom of religion and freedom of speech? And if so, why do you believe these conflicts exist?
As a person of faith, I recognize that in society, and for some people with religious views that contradict some of the values of our society. For them, it might be conflict, and in other countries, of course, most certainly.
I do believe it depends on who you talk to. If you talk to common Christians in our society, in the churches, church members, many would say that there really is a conflict, that they don't dare to speak about that they are religious, that they are Christians during work time, in school or wherever. But time has changed, and it's a lot more easy today than only a few years ago, because we do live in a country that is very secularized, and we actually live in one of the most individualized countries in the world. We live in a postmodern world where it's more and more easy to actually express what you feel, what you think, what you believe in, and of course that can kind of easy the way between freedom of speech and freedom of religion, but it can also make things more complicated, as we've seen.
Do you feel that you're both chaplains at the university, you help people with a majority of faiths, not just the Christian denominations. Do you feel that all faiths are adequately represented in the media, specifically in journalistic media? And if they are not, how are they being marginalized?
Christianity and Islam is present in media in different ways, more and more in positive ways, I would say. But of course, there are also a lot of negative publicity also there, especially about Islam. I have no idea who gets the most. Space in media, but I guess it would be Islam today.
Do you think that space provided to them, particularly in European and North American countries, is a positive or negative reflection of Islam?
I would guess it's most negative today. And I really feel sorry about that. I would like to say that directly.
And I would say that it most certainly negative. There are sometimes in the media positive things about Islam and Muslims, but the headlines and the big scoops are mostly negative.
Let's look at one example that's been very common in the media for the past several months since the beginning of the year, the Charlie Hebdo Paris attack. Now, that attack is being demonstrated and created as the attack directly against the right to free speech, because it was against a journalistic magazine for satirical representations of Muhammad. What is your opinion on that matter? Do you think this attack was an attack on free speech, or was it from religion, or was it an attack against this one entity and not against all of Western civilization as it is being presented?
I would say that for me it's important to always look at situations as persons being involved. And my view is that it's difficult to say that when a small group of people make an attack on another small group of people, it's an attack on free speech. I would say more that it's about some kind of revenge.
I guess you have to ask the question, is it alright with all free speech if it comes to harass other people? And I wouldn't say that it is alright. I mean, it's never right to do this kind of revenge and to kill people for what they have said or written or painted or anything. But I do think that if I do something, I have a responsibility for what I'm doing. And I couldn't say that it's right to do whatever I like in the name of free speech.
Now, we've seen countless times that through the media, especially in recent years since the 9/11 attack in the US and the multiple terrorist attacks across the world by religious groups, that religion taken to an extreme can be extremely dangerous and results in many deaths. But what about free speech? Do you think that can be taken too far? Could it be dangerous if there are no limitations to free speech? And if so, what kind of danger could society face from limitless free speech?
I do believe that people can use the freedom of speech to actually harass groups of people, just as we talked about. And of course, if you claim your right of free speech to harass other people, of course things will happen.
Now, before we move on, I'd like to get some reactions from you regarding comments that have been found on the internet in relation to articles written on the Huffington Post about the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Now, the first is in regards to the statement made by Pope Francis, and the quote is this a good time for any religious leader to be endorsing violence for insulting religion? Now, what this person is talking about in context is one of the examples Pope Francis gave was he gestured to a friend of his and said, if my friend insults my mother, he can expect a punch, and he pantomimed punching his friend. Now, people are saying that Pope Francis, through this action, is endorsing violence against those who speak against religion. Do you think this is an accurate statement, or is there more to the story?
I think that Pope Francis is quite wise, and I'm not sure that he's, what was the word, endorsing?
Endorsing, yes.
Violence. He's just stating what kind of reactions you can expect.
Another one in regards to the same article. A big dose of true Christian morality. What a bunch of hypocrites. Now, this has been a very common criticism of religion, not just Christianity and the Pope, but all religions, is that it has very hypocritical rules to it. Is there any truth to this?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I mean, what I think when I hear this is, I'd like to speak to this person and hear more what this person has gone through and his or her mindset and so on, because it could be like anything that has happened in the background, what you've seen from the church or whatever religion he or her did meet in the past. So I think that you always can say that there are a bunch of hypocrites in whatever group of people you meet, but maybe especially the religious groups.
In my personal life, in my Christian faith, the daily struggle is to try to not to be a hypocrite myself. Mm-hmm. And it's a very tough struggle. And our religion, our leader and our King, Jesus Christ, he has a lot of radical statements about radical love and not taking out revenge and forgiving, and I can discover in myself being a hypocrite sometimes, every day.
It's very easy to judge other people And I guess that has been too common in church, that we judge each other, that we judge people, what we say sometimes outside church. And of course people see that and hear that and then see that, but they're not acting that very different. So of course it's very easy to say that someone is a hypocrite, and we just have to admit that that's the way, and we like to talk about it, and we like to struggle with ourselves all the time, not to be judging, and actually try to live the way we talk and the way we see that Jesus wanted to teach us.
And last one. Now this one is in regards to a different article when he was discussing how Muslims were protesting against the attack on Charlie Hebdo. Bag them all of them. Christians, Jews, Muslims, send them off far away, put walls around them, and let's move this planet forward free of spirituality. What's your take on this comment?
First of all, I see people, humans, as spiritual creatures, and a planet without spirituality would be a dead planet, and I wouldn't want that. And it's also strange, you said that this comment was about the Muslims protesting against the attack.
Yes, this comment was attached to an article about Muslims speaking out against the attack on Charlie Hebdo.
So it's a bit tragic that someone is reacting so aggressive against a religion when it's actually about a group of religious people, Muslims, protesting against violence. Yeah, it would be interesting to talk to that person.
Too. Yeah, I agree.
And it seems like a very fundamentalist view, just as dangerous as any aggressive fundamentalistic view.
We also reached out to the local Muslim and journalistic communities, but were unable to receive an official response. This is Robert Brewster for Rogue Life Media, Örebro, Sweden.